Mount Everest 2024. Nearly 9,000 mountaineers have summited Everest from the Nepal side since Norgay and Hillary first set foot atop the world's highest peak in 1953. Climbers from 60 countries started a month-and-a-half-long journey from Kathmandu to Lukla, the gateway to Everest, then to base camp and the summit. More than 600 people, including 200 foreigners, successfully reached the summit of Everest this spring climbing season, which ended. The Everest season is one of the high-end tourism market segments of the country. The 400 climbing permits generate jobs for 4,000 people, from airlines to hotels and from choppers to porters, mostly in the mountain community, where the government's promised facilities and infrastructure are poor, according to analysts. Everest has now grown into a multi-million-dollar industry. But Nepal's top court wants to stop this commercialization to preserve the heritage for future generations. Before the start of the climbing season, the Supreme Court issued a mandamus order directing the government to regulate the rising number of expeditions on the world's tallest mountain. The court order followed increasing traffic jams on the world's highest peak, and the trash people leave on its slopes. Everest has even been called the world's highest garbage dump. According to a preliminary report of the Department of Tourism, the government agency that issues climbing permits and monitors activities, 8 people died on the mountain, including 3 who have been reportedly missing but presumed dead this season. Last year, according to the department, 18 people died on Everest. This 2024, the department issued permits to 421 fee-paying individuals to climb Everest, a significant drop from last year's 479 permits. Expedition agencies are also concerned about overcrowding of routes as the number of inexperienced climbers grows. We have asked the government on multiple occasions to make some climbing experience mandatory before one is permitted to ascend the world's highest peak, said Ming Ma Ji, managing director of Imagine Nepal, an expedition organizer. There are also other benefits of this approach. It will promote the unclimbed peaks, increase government revenue, and generate additional jobs. Nepal has implemented a slew of new rules in the Himalayas, including mandatory carrying of tracking devices and poo bags while summiting the peak, but has never had the rule of climbing smaller peaks before heading to Everest. The weather behaved well on Everest this season. There was no disturbance in the form of fierce wind or snow blizzard after May 19th. This year, the icefall doctors, experts entrusted to fix ladders at the Khumbu icefall, the most dangerous part of the Everest climb, lodged between the base camp and Camp 1, shifted the path to its old course. This dangerous section, navigated hundreds of times during the season, was changed after 10 years. Between 1953 and 2023, almost 50 Sherpas died in the icefall. The 2014 avalanche on Everest, which killed 16 Sherpa guides, prompted authorities in 2015 to change the path to the center to avoid the left side of the Khumbu icefall. The casualty record in the last 10 years shows that the people who die on Everest are mostly Sherpas, and the primary reason is avalanches. In April 2014, there was an avalanche near Everest Base Camp, which killed 16 Nepali guides. Then, in 2015, avalanches set off by the devastating April 25th quake killed 20 climbers, including high-altitude guides and helpers at the base camp and the Khumbu icefall. In 2016 and 2017, Everest claimed the lives of 6 and 5 climbers, respectively. But this year, 2 foreign climbers died because they decided not to hire climbing guides or use supplemental oxygen. Similarly, a missing British climber and his Sherpa guide, who have been presumed dead, were caught in a sudden cornice fall. According to the Himalayan database, which compiles records for all expeditions and deaths in the Himalayas, there were more than 200 deaths on the Nepal side of Everest between 1953, when Hillary and Norgay Sherpa first scaled the peak, and 2022. The rising number of deaths has not dented Everest's popularity. Rather, the number of aspiring summiteers keeps growing. A record 658 climbers reached its top in the spring of 2022. There were some records made this year. Kami Rita Sherpa, a seasoned mountaineer, etched his name in history by conquering Everest for the 30th time. He climbed Everest twice this season. Vanjo Lama, a Nepali woman, became the first woman in the world to climb Everest in the fastest time. Lama started her ascent from the base camp, situated at an altitude of 5,360 meters at 4 p.m. on May 22nd. She reached the summit at 6:20 a.m. on May 23rd and returned to the base camp at 4 p.m. the same day, completing the climb in 24 hours. Dawa Sherpa scaled the world's highest mountain 3 times in just 8 days. But along with success, there are deaths too. The season's first casualties were 2 Mongolian climbers. The Mongolian duo, climbing Everest without supplemental oxygen and Sherpa guides, went missing on May 13th. They were found dead on May 17th. On May 21st, British climber Daniel Paul Patterson and his Sherpa guide, Pastenji, went missing in the death zone. On the early morning of May 21st, at around 4:40 a.m., climbers Patterson and Pastenji Sherpa heroically reached the summit of Everest. Tragically, during their descent near the Hillary Step, at approximately 8,800 meters, they were caught in a sudden cornice fall, which impacted the group of climbers. On May 22nd, a Kenyan climber, Kirui, died a few meters below the Everest summit, and his Sherpa guide, Nawang Sherpa, went missing. On May 22nd, Bastakoti, a Nepali national, died near the South Col while descending from the summit. Indian climber Banshi Lal was rescued from Camp 4, but died during treatment in a hospital in Kathmandu on May 27th, according to the department. Mount Everest. What will become of this fascinating mountain? It will become a dumping ground for waste and corpses, or it will be preserved. Write in the comments what you think, and see you in the next video.